We're in the home of Gene Mueller today and have some folks that were a part, the founding group of people of Lakeview Christian Church, which became Journey Christian Church in July of 2002. So we have Gene, and we have Wallace
Andrews,
and Shirley
Andrews,
and
Regina Kopp.
Kopp, Kopp, and Virginia Gibbons. How many were here when you first met? The first time you met?
The first week we had 12, and the next week we had 24, and the next week we had 36. And so it became, and that's about what we held until we got the church built.
Everybody young? I mean, all young families at the time?
Well, we were young too. So
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Everybody was
Yeah.
everybody was kind of just young families
just
coming
young
together?
families, yeah. And all of us had about the same age kids.
Really?
So
How did it start? I mean,
okay, that's what was on my paper,
Okay.
and I'll tell you that. We had been to Virginia, and I don't know, Regina, were you members of the Methodist Church up
Yes.
there? Well, Virginia and Dick were, and Grant and I. And Grant was an elder, and Dick was an elder or deacon, whatever he was. Anyhow, and I was choir director. Well, they came through with the Christ is Dead thing, you know, with the Methodist Church. And so we went down, there was 25 of us, went down to talk to the bishop and tell him how unhappy we were with this, and we just couldn't consider this being a church. If they were going to have this, we didn't want a part of it.
Wow.
So we left, and we went over to the Christian church in Altamont Springs.
Okay.
And then Don and Julia, which is Shirley's mother and dad, Don and Julia Wheeler, called and wanted to know if they could come over and talk to us. Now, we'd never met them before at all, and so Grant said, "Of course you can." So, because they knew we were unhappy, and they wanted to get a church started in this area. So they came over. They got here at 7 o'clock and left at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I said we hit it off pretty well, and we were friends and traveled together for all those years.
So there really wasn't like a church planning group or organization that said, "Hey, we want to put a church here."
It was a group of people that wanted what they wanted. They wanted the right church.
Yeah.
They wanted the religion that they wanted.
How did you know about the Christian church, though? I mean,
Members.
We were members.
They were all
you were members
The
of a
three of
Christian
us
church.
were
Okay.
members.
And
of
I
the
was
Christian-
too.
Yes.
And
I
what
was raised up.
you were raised in a Christian church?
And I was too.
What Christian church?
At that time, was that Pine Hills Christian?
She was a charter member at,
Pine Hills
Hills.
Christian.
Okay.
and we became charter members here. We also became charter members of Silver Star Christian Church.
Okay. Was there a preacher or anyone? Was there a leader that said, "Hey, let's get together here"? We just
That was my dad.
That was her dad.
your dad.
My dad
Yes.
lived there.
Yes.
He was a
John
preacher.
Wheeler. He was not a
No, he's
minister.
not.
He was
an
not.
elder.
No.
Oh, he was in our, but he said, "Let's
He
get
met with
people
them
together."
every
And
Thursday, and then at that time, I think they hired David Meyer
Meyer.
to come and preach to us on Sunday mornings at the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
now, did it become Lakeview?
No, we had to pick a name.
Had to pick a
We had to
name.
pick a name. The group
Yeah.
picked a name.
What was the name of you when you started?
Lakeview Christian.
Lakeview Christian.
Okay, but before it was.
Everybody put in a suggestion, and Catherine Baird was the one who put in Lakeview Christian Church because
Who did?
Catherine Baird.
Okay.
Everybody
And-
submitted.
Everybody submitted a name, and that's the one we voted on. Was because you could see Bear Lake from the church at that
At that time.
At that time, there.
At that time.
Well, I was
No
going to say,
houses. No houses.
what was here? I mean, was there anything out here at the time in terms of development? This house obviously was here, but what was around it?
Several churches.
Yeah, several churches.
But not near the development that we see
And
now.
not anyways near. No.
So there wasn't many houses on the lake,
Yeah, there were houses on the
There was a
lake, but
few.
they were little ones. They've torn a lot of them down
right?
and
And built,
rebuilt them now.
right?
That's
Okay.
been over
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Yeah,
That's a long time
yeah.
ago.
So, but I was a member of the Christian church too back in Ohio, and it was called Chestnut Level Christian Church.
What town?
Well, it's out in the country, way out in
Okay.
the country, south of Belmont, Ohio, and that's where all my family's buried. And because my granddad and grandmother donated the land for the church and for the cemetery. So, and now they've torn down the church and built a new one, a brand new one, which has a basement and bathrooms without an outside toilet that you had to step on the board
Yeah.
to get the door to open to get out.
So the first time you met, was it a Thursday evening? Is that when you met?
After the original meeting.
After the
Yeah.
original.
After the
Then
original
they
meeting.
just set up
Yeah.
so that the people from the Methodist Church, if I'm not mistaken, could all come on that evening too. And then they were led by my parents, and I think we started coming,
We
and
started,
then
yeah.
I believe you started coming, started working on you.
Over at the Seventh-day Adventist.
Yes,
Yeah.
we had already met here.
We had 27 people
I think, wasn't it 27?
standing on the church, on the steps over here. And that basically was the group that got going. And then we started accumulating a lot of people that could do a lot of things. For instance, her dad was, Regina's dad was a great painter. And so we had carpenters, we just had a lot of people that could do a lot of things. So things went very well there.
How long did you meet in this living room?
At least a year, maybe more.
Well, longer than that. It was about almost 2 years.
Was it? I can imagine, yeah.
And before you moved?
Well, no,
We never
got here
met.
every Thursday night, but then we just had services over there on Sunday.
Sundays.
So was this more of a Bible study?
Yes.
Yeah,
Almost like a home group?
yeah.
Yes.
Because also they were trying to win some of the people that were at the Methodist Church and help them become Christians.
And a lot of them do.
Yes.
A lot of them do. That's the church up there that we.
What are you holding up there, Gene?
That's a picture of the original of the.
Here, I'll give you.
That's with the children and everybody in it.
Of the
Okay.
original ones that remembers are at the first church at the at the first service, I guess.
Yes. Well, we only had one service.
Well,
Good
yeah, I
reading
mean,
in there,
but-
Steve Liming wrote about the first 10 years, about the ministers and things.
Okay.
Don't you have one of those at
How
church?
many?
We probably do.
I'm
yeah.
sure you do.
Yeah, I've seen these pictures. I've seen this picture before. What when you met here in the house, in any particular I mean, would you just studying like the church in the book of Acts, or
Yes.
Don
Yes.
was in charge of that.
Yes,
so.
he would study that. And how, I would say so, yes. And there were so many here that there were not enough seats, so we would all sit on the floor too.
So
we were young then, we could get back up.
So we're the five that's left
Of the
out of the
group,
27.
of the adults in there. There
I
are
know.
many of the kids, the
Yeah.
young kids are still with
And I
us.
feel very fortunate I'm the only male.
You should.
Especially when he had a heart attack a year and a half ago.
Rode a helicopter.
who was the first preacher at Lakeview?
Dave.
Dave
Dave
Meyer,
Meyer.
but he wasn't a member there. He would
He was
just
not a
come
member.
over. He would preach at Pine Hills, and then he would come over and
over
preach
And
for
preach
us.
While we were having Sunday.
On
the same day?
Yes.
Same day.
Yes,
Yes.
And did that for over a year.
yes, he did.
He's still living
And then
and
Yes,
Herb Owens
active
was
in
the
ministry.
first minister
Yes.
we hired.
Who was?
Herb Owens.
Herb Owens.
Urban
Did
Doors.
you know him?
I did not.
You did not.
Urban
Yeah.
Doris Owens.
The guy in the book here, Steve Liming, I've met him.
Oh, okay.
He stopped.
He was several years
He
later.
came later.
Yeah,
after
he
Jack
came later.
Foley. After, I think he came after Jack Foley, didn't he?
Yes. There's a list in there, of different ones.
Yeah,
when they
different
were here.
ones. There's a
Gene,
list of all the
how
But
long
ministers.
was
Herb
it?
was paid by a new
After
church
we got that
evangelism.
building finished, we built the building in the back, the big metal
It
building.
wasn't too much longer after that because after we because we realized we needed more. We had the Sunday school rooms down the side,
Yeah.
and then we just kept growing and growing and growing.
Yeah,
And so we ended up building the
we actually built it where the side rooms,
yeah.
all those petitions could be taken out and open up the church.
Yeah.
And then when we filled that, then we went to the big building in the back.
Is there any particular memory, Virginia, from the very early days that stands out to you? When you were meeting here or there?
Well, I mentioned a while ago, I think it's as young as we were that we had an outreach program where we helped other churches. The men would go, put roofs on churches, help build baptistries, and we had a women's organization. We just seemed like a church from the very beginning. We had a good nucleus, and That's what I remember about the very beginning anyway. And then we had Herb come, and he was with us for a while, and he was here by a new church evangelism, paid half of his salary, and we paid half. But that's what I remember. We did a lot of mission work from the very beginning.
So missions, helping other people,
Right.
has been a part of the church DNA
From the very
beginning.
We would take a widow woman, and we'd take about 15 guys and go put a roof on her house on
On a Saturday.
On a Saturday, we'd do
Wow.
the whole roof.
And they did that over in a different place many times. So.
That's great. That's great.
We had a lot of people that could do a lot of things, and that was, I think, was one of the big successes.
Well, and everybody was so close. I mean, we were all like best friends.
And everybody kind of lived around the lake,
Yes.
lived here around the lake.
And
Most of us did.
I was going to. I was choir director for the first 14 years.
Were you?
And then, but I wanted to tell you that when we started the church and got into our new building, to the building there, then Grant made the point. He said, "We're going to invite, when somebody joins the church, we're going to invite him down the next Sunday for dinner so that we get acquainted with everybody." And so we did that. We did that and did that. Every time somebody joined the church, we'd have them down for dinner. And but. The one Sunday that Jack Foley was there, we had 14 people join the church at one time, and I looked back at Grant and I went like this, and he said, so I said, "Now what were you thinking?" And he said, "Well, we can't feed them all, but we can have an ice cream social." So that started our ice cream socials here.
How about
So,
that?
And of course, we used to have sunrise service.
Easter sunrise service on the lake.
service.
Where?
Did
Here
that
on this
here.
lake?
We'd have,
Yes.
how many, what, we have 100 people or
Oh,
more?
To
yes.
begin with.
He ran the electric down there.
Years.
Grant ran the electric down there, so we could have hot things like eggs and bacon and whatever, pancakes, whatever.
Well, that sounds more than a service. That's
Am I
had breakfast.
Am I correct?
Oh, yes, it was.
Am I
It was a
correct?
sunrise service,
Yeah.
and then we would
Am I
go over
correct
and
that we used to, if people have been baptized in this
Oh yeah,
lake?
6
Yeah.
people were baptized in the
people.
lake.
Right here.
Right here.
Is that right? Who was the first person baptized after you got together? After you started meeting here?
I don't
You remember?
Gosh, that'd
Not
be
the
hard.
first one.
Who would be the first person after this group started meeting?
I wouldn't.
Oh, I haven't
I
Tell
know
you who's
Mr. and
the first
Mrs. Agee was baptized in the lake by Herb.
Who was?
Mr. and Mrs.
In this
Agee.
lake?
Yeah.
But we had already had baptisms
Do you know
before
Kenny
then.
Smith that's in Sunday school that rides a bicycle that doesn't talk? Kenny Smith, you know him. He very seldom says a word.
Says anything.
Okay.
Yes, his mother.
His mother.
His mother was baptized.
Here in this
Mr. and
lake?
Mrs.
Yeah.
Agee.
And the
By
ages
Herb.
and somebody else. I'll have to.
Our youngest son was the first baby born in this congregation.
Well, there were two of them.
There was two within like
With
a week.
So that's
Wow.
how I always remember how the church is.
Yeah. All right. And what was the first? What was the month that you first met here?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good
Well, that
question.
was, I think that book, Steve's book says in April of 68. The summer of 68
Okay, probably was.
is when we left the denominational church.
The summer of '68. You met. You started meeting here.
And of April of 69
Is
is when we were up at the,
the Adventist Church.
Yeah. It says the first worship service was April 20th of 1969.
Yeah.
And to your point, Virginia, in April 1969, mission support began immediately. Okay, wonderful. 43 years later, and now 10 years since it's moved locations and come journeying, obviously hundreds and thousands of people have now been impacted by that. Did you ever think that would happen
Oh heavens.
when you first started
We thought it
here?
was just going to be this little group.
never.
Never
Thought
thought
it was just going
thousands
to be
of
our little
people.
group.
Yep.
But
Wow.
you know, I would say 4 to 5 years after we moved into this first building, it was a very strong congregation. Let
Very
me tell you, it had everything going for it. It was a great place to go to church.
Mhm.
And
Had a lot of love for a lot of people.
Yeah,
All my kids were married there.
Yep.
yeah.
Jean's son was in her Sunday school class.
I taught Sunday school for the first 14 years.
Did you?
And also I had the girls club and I did youth group. I had the high school class.
Yeah.
And Regina had the,
I taught the 2 and 3
Yeah.
years old for 18 years.
yeah.
18, that
She
long.
never grew up.
For 18 years.
Yeah, I don't
18
know what I
years.
want to be when I
You
grow
have
up.
what?
And
What'd you
then
say?
after
She
Shirley,
taught the youth group
after
for
you
two
18
threes.
years.
high school girls, Regina took it over. And I came
Oh,
over
yes,
and we had
high
a
school
sleep in,
girls. We had a
remember?
sleepover.
Well, on behalf of Journey and the legacy that we have as Lakeview, we all stand on the shoulders of the ones that came before us. And we obviously wouldn't be where we are now if it hadn't been for your efforts and your faithfulness and your meetings. So thank you all for
We thank you.
for your starting this little Bible study in this living room that became Lakeview, which became Journey, and it really does have a worldwide impact, and thousands of people have come to know Christ over the years
Absolutely.
as a result of that, and
We agree.
even more than what you probably ever imagined God's been able to do. But that's what the Bible says. He does more than we ask or imagine, and He's been able to do that. So thank you all, and the remaining folks, founding members of Lakeview. We
Kids were all.
we
all of our
appreciate
ki- all of our
the
kids were.
the sacrifices.
We appreciate you coming over and doing this.
Yep.
Yeah, we do appreciate it very
We
much.
do.